Welcome to AW360 Live at Advertising Week New York. I'm BJ Smith, and I'm joined by Kristin Dolan and Ben Tatta of 605. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, Ben, tell us a little bit about the company. What is 605?
605 is a new venture. It was formed in November of last year with one mission to really solve the void in measurement and to provide more deeper insights into television consumption and viewing. We've focused heavily on onboarding set-top box data. We announced recently a partnership with Charter to onboard all of the set-top box data. So the long story short is to aggregate set-top box data across MVPD and then provide kind of a common way of measuring and providing deeper insights into how the data can be used for programming and advertising.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kristin, I'm really excuse me, tongue-tied, that's what I am. I'm curious about how do you feel about the way data has transformed the advertising world?
Well, it's interesting. I actually think that the transformation started with the onset of digital advertising and allowing brands and advertisers to very specifically segment and target their audience and also get detailed results on what was going on because they could get clickstream data and lots of other feedback from their advertising. And now that census level, set-top box data, and over-the-top data, and other types of data are available for television, and now that the reality finally of addressable television is coming to bear, the opportunity to do what people have always done on digital is now becoming a reality for television. And since each of those represents around $60 billion in advertising revenue across the US, we're excited because we're now going to be able to treat and use television advertising the way people have always done with digital. So, for measurement purposes, for matching first-party data on the back end, and for very specific targeting like that nirvana that everybody's been waiting for is finally here, and then doing that also on like a cross-channel integration, being able to look at it across all different marketing channels is really exciting. So,
it hasn't been that long ago where people were saying that data was going to sort of kill creativity in the industry.
Yep.
Do you think that that's true, or?
I love this question because I've been, almost 30 years in product management, marketing, operations, and I've worked with so many creatives. And the question about using, data for creative isn't about like saying whether a Monet is going to be a Monet or whether a Michelangelo is going to be great. It's about can you create effective advertising and do creative that can serve the purpose that it's designed to serve, right? So by utilizing data to either confirm the target that the creative will be speaking to,
right,
or to make sure the messaging is correct, or the the call to action is correct. There's a lot of different ways that the data can inform the creative process so that great creative actually is effective and does the job it needs to do. So not ever trying to tell somebody that red should be, something red should be blue or whatever. It's really about making the magic that creatives make more effective and to do the job that it needs to do.
That's interesting, and that actually makes me think back to my days in college and marketing, and they always used to say that, even my advertising instructor, professor, said that, 50% of your ad budget is wasted. The question is you don't know which 50%.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And I guess this is what the data is teaching us.
Yeah, I'd say you think so.
There was a cartoon recently that said, I know 50% of my advertising is wasted, but I don't know how much longer I can ignore the data to tell me which half. So the point is the data is here to kind of measure that, and that really does get at the heart of it. Tremendous amount of money invested in television. Everyone knows kind of innately that it's working, but there hasn't been data to really quantify it. To Kristin's point, whether it's measuring the creative, whether it's measuring the offer or the message or the placement of that creative, now there's data that can finally do that. That's why we're excited about it.
So from your standpoint, we've been promised, the targeting capabilities has promised us better ROI, and all of these, wonderful things where we can see what's working and what's not. But has that been the reality in let me back up a little bit and say, I think we think about the amount of data that is out there now, and you say you can't ignore the data, but there's been so much technology that's just been blossoming over the years you think about the amount of data, are marketers actually doing a good enough job of harnessing the right data and using that to get a better ROI?
I'll start. Maybe you could fill in the details. I would say there's a ton of data, to your point, it's all being aggregated, but how, looking at measurement in equal ways, like what is an impression, for example? You're measuring impressions, but somebody may consider an impression to be 3 seconds. For somebody else, it might be 15 or 30. So until we organize around what things actually mean and what, how they can be measured in similar ways, the data is only good as what, how people are pulling stuff out of it.
Right.
So, you're probably more specific about that, but aggregation is challenging, being very, very careful about, protecting people's privacy and things like that. There's a lot of challenges inherent in aggregating and utilizing data, and that's before you even get to the place where you're using it for insights and for analysis and to drive business decisions. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, there's been a lot of development in onboarding data on a platform by platform basis, and I think, fortunately for television, there's companies like ours that are really trying to solve that void. But I think over time, the key is to kind of get a more holistic view across platforms so that, each platform, each media can really get credit for its impact on any response, whether it's a sale and so forth. So while, digital has done a phenomenal job in measuring attribution, I think until we can really stitch that together with the effect of television, because, these days, as consumers, we're consuming content across multiple platforms, so clearly the brand messages and the things that drive us to respond are going to be delivered across a number of platforms, and until we can stitch that together, we don't really have a full view of what's really driving sales.
Right, so my follow-up question was going to be, what you're looking forward to in the future, some of the things you're looking forward to in the future, and would you say it's that bringing all those platforms together?
I think without a doubt, yeah, that's a big part of it, is bringing all the data together across platform, and then I think also just the intervals by which the data is available.
Right.
Now, the television data isn't available in real time. It's, available in batch mode, every few hours. And I think the closer we can get to real time, the better, so that way decisions can be made in a much more compressed interval. So whether that means rotating in a new piece of ad creative, or whether it means just kind of capping the delivery of a particular campaign, being able to react in a timely manner is going to be really important as we go forward.
The other thing I would add, multi-channel attribution, to Ben's point, because it's always like whatever the last thing seen, that gets credit for the sale, and it really is a variety of things, whether it's a billboard, outdoor, digital, radio, whatever it might be. But the other thing I think that's so critical about this is not just what it does for the advertiser or for the brand, but what it does for the consumer. So by utilizing data to find the appropriate target with the appropriate message, it eliminates a lot of noise and waste for the viewer. So you're getting advertising. Advertising is a way of life in this country. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And so for your experience as a consumer of advertising, whether you like it or don't like it, at least having something relevant is more beneficial, and I think makes everybody feel better about it. And helps the brands connect better to the people they're trying to reach.
We've got to be less intrusive and more relevant.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, Kristin, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more AW360 Live from Advertising Week New York.